Ciao, I'm Mary Ann Esposito.
And I'm Nancy Harmon Jenkins.
And today I'm at Nancy's home in Teverina, which is a sweet little town in Tuscany. And Nancy is going to show me today how she makes Tuscan bread. And then after that, we're going to make a variety of wonderful toppings for something called crostini. That's it, real fast, real fast. Come on, get that baseball arm moving. Oh, perfect.
Ok.
Okay. Non c'è ketchup.
No. Già vedi, mi fa la foto.
Basta?
Sì.
Sono molto delicati.
Molto delicato. Grazie a lei.
Grazie Marianne, grazie a voi.
You know, my mother's favorite leftover sandwich. Come on, you're Italian. Isn't this beautiful? Look at how pretty this is. It's delicious. How do you like that? I think you're great. And now we're ready to do the twist. So, looks gorgeous, smells wonderful.
I use my hands.
I love this woman. Okay. The Tuscan landscape is like a magnet. Many people come here to visit, but some end up living here too. And in the beautiful countryside just north of Cortona, that's just what cookbook author Nancy Harmon Jenkins did many years ago. She doesn't live here year-round, but being here inspired her to write the Mediterranean Diet Cookbook. Nancy explores connections between who we are and what we eat. You know what, Nancy? I think it's really fabulous that you're continuing the tradition of making Tuscan bread, because so many people just don't make bread at home.
Well, that's true.
And here in
there are a
Nancy's
lot of
kitchen,
reasons why they don't.
that's what we're doing today, Tuscan bread. So how are you going to start?
Well, ordinarily I just start with a little of this yeast that I keep
And
going
you're-
in my refrigerator, but I thought I'd show you how to make the yeast.
Okay.
And I'm using fresh yeast because
Fresh
that's what
yeast.
I get here. If you were making this in the States, you'd use dried yeast.
Dried yeast,
Maybe a
'cause-
teaspoonful of dried yeast.
Okay.
And some warm water to dissolve the yeast.
I find that the yeast in Italy is stronger than what we have at home. Do you find that you can take hotter water?
It's yeah, that's true. That's absolutely true. I never thought of that, but of course it's true.
And then you just mix it up.
Just mix it up, let it dissolve, and then you add some flour. You want about equal quantities of flour and water.
Can I mix this while
Sure,
you're doing
you
that?
mix it up. I'm
Okay.
going to measure this out just because I don't usually measure things, but
Now, what
you
kind of
never know.
flour are we using?
Oh, this is a great flour. This flour comes from a mill. This flour is actually grown in Tuscany, in the region called the Casentino, up north of Arezzo. And it's grown there, and it's made in an old-fashioned grist mill with the big stones that grind it. And the mill is run by water power on one of the
So,
tributaries of the Arno.
This is
It's
a
fabulous.
soft wheat.
Yeah, well, it's the same kind of flour that we would call bread flour at home. It's not particularly strong, but you know, Europeans don't use very strong
Very
flour
strong
when they
flour.
make bread.
But does it have a high gluten content?
No, not especially.
All right, I thought you needed that for bread.
No, you don't. You know, it's a real mistake that we make to think you need some kind of super gluten flour to make bread. Look at you go there. You obviously haven't been cooking for a couple of days,
Well,
right?
I'll let you do it. It's your kitchen.
All right, so
You know me, I get anxious.
This is something that I do every time I come here. You know,
Yeah.
I stay here for about 3 months at a time, and I come in here and I make stock and I make,
And you
a
make-
kind of sourdough is
Okay.
basically what that is.
So you're actually making the mother.
The mother of them all, yes.
Okay, and
that gets covered up with good old plastic wrap, good old traditional plastic wrap, and
do the-
I keep it in the refrigerator. And I use it whenever I'm making bread or pizza dough or any kind of yeasted dough. You want to put that over there in the
Yeah,
refrigerator for
sure.
me? Because, funnily enough, I've got some all made up here that I made when I got here.
Now this should
and it's-
smell really
Yeah,
sour.
yeah. Want to smell that?
Yeah. Yeah.
See how bubbly it is,
really
too.
sour. We
It's
should
really
smell
nice.
that. Okay.
Really nice.
So now.
So this is what I'm going to use to make the biga.
Okay.
Bread making is 3 steps. One is making the leaven, which you can do once and for all. Then you make the biga, and then you make the dough.
And then you make the dough.
And the
Okay.
biga is something very similar to what the French call pouliche.
Okay,
It's,
yes.
you know, you add your leaven in there.
Look at how
And
good
I'm going
that
to use
looks.
my fingers.
Use your hands, the old
because
Italian way.
That's the only way to get it all out of there.
Yeah.
My grandmother always said said, if you scrape the bowl, you'll get enough for another serving.
That's a good way to put it. Here, I'll get
Do put
that
that
out
in
of
the
your
sink.
way.
And so that's the leavening. To that, we're going to add a cup of water.
Okay.
And I'm not even sure I've got a cup here, but if not,
Want
I'm
me
going
to
to
get
ask
you a little more?
Yeah, get me a little
Okay.
more in that bowl, would you please?
All right.
A cup of water and 2 cups of flour.
So really, when you make bread, you're really not really measuring anything.
No,
You're
you're
just-
not. You're sort of doing it by guess and by gari. That's
Right.
another thing my grandmother used to say, by guess and by gari. That's not very Italian, is it?
No.
That's a cup of water, however. I've measured that out.
Okay.
And I should add probably double that quantity of flour. So there's a cup of flour.
Should I use my hands to start it, or?
You can use your hands or
Okay.
you can use a spoon if
Well,
you'd
I use
rather.
my hands because
Okay.
I'm used to doing it
Right.
a mano. And what
And-
kind of a consistency are you looking for here? You want it? Do you want to take dough that's on the wet side, or
Yeah, I want the biga to be really what we call a slurry, more than a
yeah.
dough.
Okay, that's a
It
good
really
word.
hasn't become a dough
It
yet.
hasn't. It's
like
kind of a shaggy mass, is what I call it.
Yeah.
That's
exactly.
great. Now you didn't put any salt in
No,
because
I didn't because I'm making Tuscan bread.
Okay.
Now sometimes I'll add salt if I'm making it for myself because. Well, unsalted bread is a very Tuscan thing. It takes a certain amount of getting used to.
even for you who's lived here over 30
Well,
years.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it depends on. Somehow I think the salt brings out the flavor of the wheat flour more. And with good flour like this, I like to bring it out.
Well, now why is it that there is no salt in Tuscan
Oh,
bread?
people
What-
have all
There's so
kinds
many
of
reasons.
One of the biggest and most sensible reasons is that salt was heavily taxed, and therefore people didn't add it to their bread. But you know, salt was heavily taxed all over Italy, and it's only the Tuscans and the Umbrians who don't use.
Do we need more flour while you're telling me?
Oh, we can put a
Yeah.
little bit in
Okay.
there. Not a lot though, because.
All right, so
There
we
you go.
want this
That
to be
should be
loose.
plenty.
This
Yeah,
is our
very
loose
loose.
dough. Okay.
Yeah.
So the Umbrians and the Tuscans.
Yeah. Now, here's what I think, and this is my own private theory that nobody else knows anything about, but I think that the reason is because the Tuscans and the Umbrians are very thrifty people. And bread that doesn't have salt in it lasts longer than bread that does. It
Does.
doesn't absorb moisture, and so therefore
It won't get
it
moldy.
won't get moldy. And it leads to all kinds of other things, like the crostini that we're going to be making later on. And
Okay, does that look good?
yeah, that looks perfect. That's just
Okay.
exactly what I want. Again, the
Cover.
famous traditional plastic wrap covers it up.
Now, where does this go?
This goes, ordinarily, I just keep it out in my house because my house is fairly cool. If I were doing this in a New York City apartment, I might look for the coolest place in the apartment. I
Okay.
might even put it in the refrigerator for a little bit. But it needs to sit in a fairly cool.
And you want this to double or triple in size?
Well, it should double at least and get very
Holy
fermented
looking.
looking,
Yeah, right,
holy,
right, holy
bubbling
looking.
around
Lots
there,
of holes in
active,
it.
so that you know that it's alive. That's the most important thing.
Okay.
Can you find a place to put that somewhere?
Sure I
Because,
can.
curiously enough, I have a biga all prepared for us, which
Oh,
I
I
made
would've
yesterday.
guessed.
This
Anyone
is a
who's a
miracle
bread
of
baker would always
miracles,
have some
right.
backups,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, now
and now
look,
you can see how active it is.
Nice
See,
and fluffy,
Yeah, it's
beautiful.
very fluffy.
Yeah.
It's full of little bubbly holes, and it's still a very, very loose. Sometimes you even get a little liquid separating on the top of it,
Right,
but that's
yeah.
okay. That's
Yeah.
fine. Now, we're going to need quite a lot of flour for this next phase, and we're going to need some more water.
Okay.
This time, whoops, I need more
More
water,
water.
Mary Ann.
She's
There
got
you
me
go.
working today.
Yeah. More water and lots more flour.
You want to keep this crumb fairly open, don't you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you know, an interesting thing is that the more liquid and loose the dough is,
Better.
the better.
Well, I'm going to tell you my little secret.
Yeah.
I use ice cubes.
Oh, that's an interesting idea.
I use ice cubes. Because I've played with Tuscan bread so much in my kitchen, like you have.
Yeah.
That you're always trying to perfect it, get it to be a
Right.
little bit. It's never going to be exactly the way you're going to be able to make it in Tuscany because, of course, all of the ingredients are different. The
and
different
the air is
flours,
different, and the
yeast,
water
all
is
of
different.
That.
You know,
But you can experiment at home. And by using crushed ice, I have found that I can get a nicer, open texture.
that's interesting. And you add it right in at this point?
No, I add it when I'm beating it in. If I use a like a stand mixer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. All right.
Now,
so.
I'm going to have to get some more flour, and you can keep your hands
Okay.
going right in there, okay?
All right, and it's my turn now to
All
play
right,
in the
there you
kitchen.
go.
So,
All right, let me squeeze past you, and
Yeah.
I'm just going to keep adding flour to that.
Okay.
This is my great flour
Pot.
holder.
Yeah, good. Now, what are some of the typical crostinis that we're going to be making later on? That they're really
the most
Tuscan.
typical one of all is what they call crostini neri, black crostini.
Black
And they're
crostini.
made with chicken livers. And it's called black simply because it's very dark in
Chicken
color.
livers are dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that 4 I think I put in there now?
You know, I wasn't counting, but I'm going to be able
Uh-oh.
to tell just by feel,
Yeah,
I
you should
think.
be able to. It should
Yeah.
take about 7 cups of flour, but you know, that too can vary enormously depending on the weather,
Right.
how humid it is, all that sort of thing.
So now we have the chicken livers as one, which we're
Yeah.
going to flavor with a little bit of sage, right?
Right, sage, very typical Tuscan flavoring. Chicken livers cooked in olive oil
Yeah.
with onion and prosciutto chopped up and things like that.
You
Good
know what,
things.
Nancy? I
What?
think we got enough here.
I
You-
think we
do you-
have
Do you
too.
mind if I throw this on the board?
No, just throw it right out on the
Okay,
board,
good.
and I'll put a little flour on the board for you.
Because I think it's easier to work with it
Yeah, it is
on
indeed.
a board. I
Yeah.
wouldn't put any more flour there just
Okay,
yet.
all
I
right.
think maybe that's plenty.
Okay.
Okay. Do you
Now
want
we
to do
go
the
to
honors,
kneading.
or you want me
Yes,
to do it?
you can do it. There, it's all yours.
right, Okay.
I know
I
you
love
love
this
that part.
too.
I know. But the other crostini we're going to make are crostini rossi, red
Crostini
crostini
rossi?
with tomatoes. And we've
Good.
got some beautiful Costaluto tomatoes that are just coming in now.
I actually grow those in my garden. Actually,
Oh.
I should say my husband grows them because we have a totally Italian garden at
That's
home.
fantastic.
This is feeling just about right. That was just about the right amount of flour. We
That
don't need any
is
more.
perfect.
So you would need it about, what, 5 minutes or so?
Yeah, 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah,
It
to get
depends
the
on what you've
gluten
got
really
playing on the
going.
record player or on the radio.
And we're going to make one loaf out of this, or are we
We
going to
can make one loaf, or we can divide it and make 2 loaves. And I prefer, if
I
we're
think
making
you should give me
crostini.
one loaf to take home, don't
Well.
you? After all, Tuscan hospitality.
Right, indeed.
Okay, what are we going to put this in?
You want to put it in the same bowl we
Yeah.
just used?
Yeah, put it over there
All
on
right.
the counter.
You know, sometimes I put a couple of drops of olive oil in there, and I've got some olive oil right here somewhere.
This flour is great to work with. I think I may have to get some of that to take home.
Oh, you should.
Wonderful, Nancy.
It is great.
Okay, basta così.
All right, drop her right in there. Roll her around in the olive oil a little bit.
And now we got to cover that,
And
right?
now we'll cover it with our famous
Okay, that's your
Tuscan.
job. Okay.
Yeah.
That was
Oh, it's
great.
great to have you in the kitchen, you know.
Anytime you want to invite me is just fine.
All right, that's terrific. That's a deal.
Okay, want me to put that off to the side for you? Because I know
Yeah.
you probably have
Yeah.
another one of these ready.
How did you guess? How
I
did
don't
you
know.
guess?
Bread bakers all think
All
alike, I
right.
guess. Okay.
All right, here's the other one. Now this is one that I made up yesterday of that same flour. Notice how the bread dough actually is a little sort of gray in color.
Yeah.
That's because there's a lot of bran left in this flour.
In this flour.
It
This is
isn't really a
great.
whole wheat flour the way we think of it, but that's what gives it that sort of creamy gray color,
Beautiful.
creamy beige color. Isn't it nice?
Yeah, and so that means that we're not going to have a white-looking crumb.
No, we're
Yeah,
not at
yeah.
all. You can put that over in the...
Okay.
Now, I know you're dying to get your hands in that.
Well, you know, I don't want to take over your kitchen.
Oh!
Yeah, I'm going to let you do something. Let me get that plastic away
Here you
from
go.
you. You don't need that. Yeah.
Okay, now, I think we should do... I do 2 long and 1 round out of that.
So you get 3 out of this,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
2 long and 1 round? Okay. How about?
The traditional Tuscan way is a kind of oblong-shaped
Yeah.
loaf.
Don't
but
they have a special name for that? I thought they used to call that the filone. Did they?
the filone is the long, narrow
long,
one.
narrow
yeah,
one,
yeah.
okay.
But this, we're not going to make anything like a French baguette. We're
Should I
gonna
make a round one?
Sure.
Okay, I'll do a round. This is going to be a small round, though, because
Yeah,
I
it
gave
is.
you most of
Dear,
the dough.
you want
Give
some
me a little
more?
bit more, yeah.
There you go.
Because I'm
Whoops,
hoping
sorry.
you're telling me I'm taking this loaf home.
Why not? Why not?
It's actually a lot of fun to bake bread with somebody else who loves it as much as I do.
I adore it. You know, I'm not much for pastry making. I've never enjoyed making cakes or cookies. I like eating them, but I don't enjoy making them.
bread
But
is
making
something-
bread is something elemental about it that is just so...
Absolutely. Gives you time to think.
Yeah.
Enjoy the process. Okay, then, once we have our...
Once we have them, then we have to put them aside to rise.
Okay, what are you going to put some
I'm going to put
cornmeal?
some, I've got some semolina right
Okay,
here.
semolina.
This is this good Italian semolina,
Yes,
which is really...
hard wheat flour.
Yeah, you will remember that down in Puglia, they
When
make
we
their
were
bread
there,
out of
yes,
this.
absolutely.
And most people will tell you, oh, you can't make bread out of semolina. But in fact, they make it out of 100% semolina.
Semolina.
I'm just going to put these on here.
All three of them?
Yeah, I hope they'll fit. I think
Yeah,
they
we
will.
may have to give them a little more room to
Yeah.
rise. Okay.
And the other thing I'm going to do is use a little
Cover that.
plastic wrap where this is kind of a narrow board. I don't want them to grow together, so
Yeah.
I'm going to just tuck this in between the loaves. Like that.
I learn something new every day. That's
Yeah,
great.
it's the uses of plastic wrap.
And you know, the other thing I think people are missing by not making bread, besides the whole process of
Yeah.
it being so wonderful, is the wonderful smell that it imparts to your kitchen.
Oh, God,
You know,
it's
people come in,
fabulous,
it's a
isn't it?
very welcoming smell to know that you've made homemade bread, something so basic. Okay, we have Tuscan bread.
We have Tuscan bread ready to go. Well, it's not ready
Okay.
to go in the oven. It's
But
got to rise.
this has got to rise.
For about half an hour. Now, it needs a cover. Right over there, you'll see
Okay.
a cloth to put over the
All right.
top of it.
Will do. Okay.
I've got
Whoa, that's hot.
tiles in this oven, you know.
So you're trying to duplicate the Italian
Right.
hot wood
typical.
fired oven.
And I don't have a peel to
I
put
see.
it
You
in
do-
with.
you're brave. You put it in with
I
your
know,
hands.
I know. I wish I had a peel, but I haven't been able to ever find
Gonna
one
have
here.
to get her
There.
one.
No, I think we'll leave that one. We'll do that one
Okay.
later.
Okay, we'll
all
do
right?
this
Just
later.
put that aside.
Yeah.
That'll be fine.
Okay, now.
Now, let's see. We're going to fry some bread for
All
our
right.
crostini.
Should I get some olive oil
Yeah,
going?
that's
Okay.
my olive oil, by the way.
Oh, of course. Tuscan olive oil.
Yeah.
Mmm, that smells great. Is it a spicy olive oil?
Well, it isn't now because it was made last November, but
Now these are from your own trees.
yeah, my own trees
What
growing
kind
right
of
outside here.
kind of olives do you use?
Licino, because we're up very high. We want an olive that is going to last. In the, you know, it's not going to be damaged by frost.
You're so lucky to have your own
I know.
olive trees, isn't she? Okay, so
Isn't it
now
great?
the bread.
The bread,
Here
yes.
comes the fruition from
This-
all that work we did.
See what it looks like? Oh, it looks nice, doesn't it?
Oh, it looks
Yeah.
great. It looks great.
terrific. Do you want to fry up some?
Yeah,
For
sure,
our
because
crostini?
we're going to be making the crostini next. And we should say that here in Tuscany, bread has so many uses, right? In soup,
Absolutely, yeah.
for crostini, which is their way of
A
saying
great
a great
salad,
a great salad, antipasto,
panzanella.
panzanella, which is a bread salad. Let's put in 3 or 4 because
Okay,
I have
all
not
right.
eaten a thing since that crummy bowl of cereal this morning. So, okay,
Good.
We should probably start making those crostini toppings,
Yeah.
huh?
Okay.
Okay.
All right, that's a good idea.
All right.
Off we go.
You know, I have to tell you, when you brought those tomatoes out, this is a costoluto variety that I grow in my garden.
Wonderful. Oh, you do?
Yeah, I grow these at home.
In
and
New
they-
Hampshire?
In New Hampshire. And they have
Fantastic.
great flavor, but people will not buy them in a store if they see them because they don't look like a tomato.
You know what? They look like the tomatoes that my father grew during the war.
So we're making the first topping for the crostini, which we didn't tell everybody was little toast. Translate
Right,
to little
yeah,
toast.
little toast or little
The
crust.
Tuscans like to use this as the beginning to a meal. This is their an antipasto. It's a way to really relax, enjoy a glass of wine, and have some different kinds of crostini. So we're going to make a fresh tomato one, and I've already chopped the garlic up for you. And you want the tomatoes. Now, what
you.
else should I do?
How about some basil to go with
Basil,
it?
fresh
Yeah.
basil that
Yeah.
you have right here. This is
Yeah.
obviously from your garden, right?
Right.
Okay.
Always try to have fresh basil in the garden.
So with the basil, we have the tomatoes, we have the garlic, and we have, what else?
A little olive oil, salt and pepper. Oh, there's a little chopped parsley in there too. I forgot
Okay.
about that.
A little chopped parsley. This smells wonderful. So I'm just going to put this right in the bowl for you. How about a
That's terrific.
tablespoon or so?
Yeah, that's excellent.
Good.
Excellent. Just enough to give it a little of that really delicious garlic.
And now you want a
basil
little
flavor.
parsley. I don't know about you, but I use the stems and everything.
Yes, their stems are supposed to be very flavorful.
And we
so
should
I'm
tell
told.
everybody that we're using flat leaf Italian parsley,
Right. Not that
curly,
curly stuff.
which really has no flavor. I mean, it's great if you want to make something look pretty.
Now I'm going to put these diced tomatoes right in there.
Okay.
With everything else.
And then I hope we're going to use some of that wonderful olive oil of
right.
yours.
Yes, indeed.
From the Lecchino
Lecchino olive, right,
olives.
yeah.
Okay. that enough?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay.
That's excellent.
Sale e pepe?
Sale e pepe, here's some sale. We don't
Okay.
bother measuring here.
No.
Pepe.
Would not be the Italian way to measure.
No.
Would it now? Okay, a little pepper, basta così?
Yeah, basta così,
Okay.
e un po' di olio.
Olio,
A little
olio.
olive oil. Not too much, because it's
Okay.
just, and you don't really need any vinegar with it because the acid in the tomatoes is a nice foil to the,
So you mix it up. Do you let it marinate for a little while before
yeah,
you
it's
put
a
it
good
on the
idea.
Okay.
It's, you know, it develops its flavors better. If you can't get these wonderful
Can't
sweet
wait.
Costoluto tomatoes, you
can't
could
wait,
use regular
Nancy.
tomatoes, but you want to put a little sugar in with them.
I can't wait, Nancy.
All right, okay, you're not
All
going to
right,
wait for
I'm
it to
not gonna
marinate.
wait.
Okay, Mary Ann,
this
there you
goes. Look at
go.
how pretty this is. It's so beautiful. And this is the beauty, I think, of Tuscan food, of taking the most simple,
Right.
exquisite, fresh ingredients and making something so gorgeous.
Isn't it beautiful? It
And
really
that's
is. And it's
mine.
very summery looking,
Oh,
too.
it's wonderful. And now I see you've got the traditional
Right,
topping.
the chicken
The
livers.
chicken livers. How'd you do it?
This is called crostini neri, black crostini, and
Black
this is
crostini.
absolutely, this is the most traditional of the most traditional. Every time you order an antipasto in a
This
Tuscan
comes.
restaurant, this will come out
Yeah.
on toast or fried bread or whatever. You need about a half a pound of chicken livers, but you start off probably in the same pan that we fried the
olive
bread in.
The bread in, yeah.
Add a little butter to it. Add some finely chopped onion. Add, after the onion has kind of melted in the butter, add a little chopped prosciutto. You don't need too much of any of this stuff. And then when the fat in the prosciutto starts to run, then you turn in the chicken livers.
Okay.
And you saute them, let them really get nice and brown.
Now, don't cook them too long, though, or they'll
No,
get
no,
tough.
no. You don't want them to be tough. You just want them to be brown on the outside. And then I like to add, about a quarter of a cup of Vin Santo, that
that
wonderful Tuscan
Wonderful
after-dinner
Tuscan
wine.
sweet wine.
If you
yeah.
didn't have that, you could use a regular white wine, but it's nice to give it that little alcohol touch.
Yeah.
And you can see that the texture of this is, it's not a total puree.
Well, I'm not waiting for you to explain
All right,
any
okay,
further.
there you go.
This
Greedy
look at how
girl.
nice and smooth that is. So we just spread
It's
that
lovely,
on. What
yeah.
kind of a wine would you have with this?
Oh gosh, you could do almost
it
anything. I
smells
mean, I would have a
good.
white wine with it in the beginning of the meal, because
put a
that's when you're
little
going to
bit,
eat it.
little-
Yep, perfect.
little-
Elegant, elegant.
Isn't that pretty?
Yep.
And then I notice you also have, because you knew I was coming for lunch,
Olives,
this wonderful
yes.
looking olive paste.
Now, this is not traditionally Tuscan. This is kind of my own invention.
What do you
but
call
I
it?
love it. I
Just
call
black
it
olive?
olive paste.
Olive paste, okay, all right.
It's not just black olives. It's black olives and green olives mixed together.
Mixed together.
It's got a little bit of tuna fish mixed in with it.
Oh, tuna, yum.
It's got quite a lot of capers in it. It's sort of like a French tapenade, you know.
Oh, this looks great too. What are you having for lunch?
If you leave me any of it, I'll have some of that. Who knows?
This looks wonderful, and I think that's another beauty of Tuscan cooking, is taking these natural ingredients and using them the way you want to use them
Right,
too. You know,
yeah,
this is a
yeah.
fantasia from Nancy. So, okay,
There we
when
are.
do we eat?
So, let me top you up with a little Prosecco.
This is perfect. I can't think of a nicer place to be right now. We've worked hard in the kitchen. We made those wonderful crostini. Nancy starting with the biga for making the Tuscan bread, which is the base now for the toppings for our crostini. And here we have that fresh tomato, the costoluto that Nancy was talking about. Nice sweet tomato with garlic, a little bit of Nancy's homemade olive oil, and fresh basil. And then the classic itself. We did the crostini topped with chicken livers and sage and a little bit of vin santo and chicken broth, prosciutto and onion. And then Nancy's own fantasia, a combination of olives and tuna fish. I don't know, Nancy, it's really great to be here with you at your home in Tuscany. Chin chin. And until I see you nella cucina again, sono Mary Ann Esposito.
Io sono Nancy Harmon Jenkins.
Ciao.
Ciao.